Rally.
Ian, come here.
She will be the interviewer. Me, her, and Leda. Barcelona networking brunch. Yes, this is us, and we have been doing this for several months so far. That's Leda, and this is our first edition in English.
That's right.
Thanks to Rally because she organized it. And Leda, she found the speaker, right? And this is our speaker. Welcome on stage. You can come with us. Welcome, welcome. And so I wanted to start the event because I have two little kids. She has two little bit more older than mine kids, but small as well. They're all at home. So I wanted to start the event because I can't wait to hear more from her. And in the end, we'll have some networking time. And thanks for the water to Rally.
Okay, welcome everyone. I'm so glad that so many of you are here today from different places, from different countries, from different backgrounds. And we're already really excited about this topic today. As Ren already said, it's our first event in English. Most of the events are always like in Bulgarian or were. And we meet once every month. With different guests and speakers with different topics. So from, I don't know, body image in connection with Maria, we had breathwork, we had book club, we had so many other things for different fields in our life. And mostly women, as you can see, or only women again. But yeah, let's go with that girl power today. And thank you to Hristina for being our guest today, for helping us to relax in those really stressful times and life. And, you know, something is happening all the time. And to, you know, embody it, to understand it a little bit more. There will be practices. And a huge thank you to our hosts today, Maria and Nuria. And for this lovely location we have. The two artists, really incredible women, a photographer. It's like only the word photographer cannot describe this woman. This like really many things that she combines with it. And Nuria, I mean, look at this. This is not a picture, right? This is a painting. This woman where you can see every like inch of her. It's her art, and she is the other artist. And we're so grateful to be here today. So thank you so much. And the surprise after the event, after Hristina put us in this Zen state where nothing can bother us anymore. Maria is having a surprise for us. So for every one of you who want to have a portrait and to capture this peaceful moment, it will be, one portrait will be free. So yeah, thanks for this too. It's super generous. And I would say, let's get started, right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Woohoo!
Nice, thank you so much. Yeah, we're gonna have about an hour and a half together, an hour 15 minutes, and the session together. And thanks, Rally, for the introduction. I'll talk a bit about myself afterwards. Just one little correction: we're not gonna calm ourselves and relaxing. What we're going to do is connect with ourselves and actually connect with what's alive right here, right now. And we'll learn practices to do that. So off we go to the first practice. We'll do about 15 minutes in total. We'll start with a little movement practice, a little shaking practice. There will be a little music. I'll guide you through it. And then we'll move into the second part of that practice of a bit more slowing down and connecting. Just to check, can you hear me well? Yeah? Okay. So yeah, let's maybe get up from our seats. We have good space here. There's also space there, so it's good just to spread around a bit and have a bit space around ourselves. You can leave your stuff on the chairs, set the music up. Let's just also test. Okay. Just a bit louder. А может, да. Okay. All right. Just because we need more space, feel free to move into there as well, just to spread so that we have our own space. Okay. We're gonna start with just soft warming up movement, shaking of the arms. You can maybe shake a bit your feet, move the shoulders. We're slowly getting into welcome. Start shaking the wrists, maybe the legs, shoulders, like this movement of can start bouncing, which I see is already happening. And as you shake the shoulders, the arms, do that at your own pace. And maybe a sound wants to come out as you do that. Yeah, I like that. Everyone's. I was gonna say, don't worry, no one's judging, but yeah. Nice. And as you're warming up, maybe there's bigger movements that want to come out. We'll have about 4 minutes of this. The arms, the shoulders, maybe more stronger energy wants to come through. Yeah. Put the music louder if you feel like coming out more. So we're shaking, maybe less of a choreography. You can see what wants to come out. You don't worry about what that looks like. That's okay. Move the shoulders, shake the arms, the hands. Да. Да, няма проблем. Whatever feels good for the body right now, whatever we want. We're not forcing ourselves. Thank you for raising that. And just see what feels good when you do that. Does it feel good when you do bigger movement? Does it feel good when it's a slower movement? Is it the shoulders, the hips? Let the sound out. We don't care what that looks like, what that feels like in the body. What wants to come out? Have 30 more seconds. Give it all. There is something you didn't move. There's a different movement you want to try. 30 more seconds. You can start slowly, slowing down, just slowly. And as you settle, close your eyes. Get your breath back. And again, maybe there is a sound that wants to come out. A sigh. If it feels good, have your eyes closed. If it feels better to keep them open. We're being with what we need and present right now. You don't need to do what I'm telling you to do if that doesn't feel good. Take a few more moments to let the breath settle, to let the body settle. What do you notice happening in the body as you stop now? What do you notice happening in the mind? Exhale. With a sound, with a sigh, or just deep exhalation from the mouth. And as you try the different breaths or exhalations, how did that feel? We'll focus our attention on our feet touching the ground and just feel your body waiting in the space. Feel the weight, the space, the body. Exhale. We'll slowly start opening our eyes very gently. And very gently, we'll start looking around the space. So we'll orient ourselves in the space. Everyone here is first time in the space. So start scanning the space around you very, very slowly. Every pipe you see on the wall, the column, the pictures, it's an incredibly slow movement. Almost letting your eyes rest on every object for 2-3 seconds before you move the eyes to the next one. And if you're going slow, try to go even slower. What would that feel like if you look around even slower? You can look behind you. And we're exploring, acknowledging every object, every piece on the wall we notice, the chairs. Just acknowledging the presence, what's around us, the space around us. Ooh. Let's breathe together. Inhale. Exhale with a sound. And we start to slowly move into the space. Lift one foot up, slowly step forward. And what does that feel like? Noticing the other foot moving off the floor and stepping. So we're going really slow, can move around the space. We're not going to any direction. Just what does that feel like in our body? Moving the weight from one foot over the other. Connecting with the breath. You can also keep looking around. Maybe there is an urge to move a bit more the body, the arms, just slowly. Exploring the space around us, almost taking that space. Taking the space with the body sensing. If you have your arms maybe around you. And following with the gaze, the arms, the fingers, how does that move around the space? What do you notice as you go slow? What's happening in your mind? Are you annoyed? Like, this is too slow, what are we doing? Are you sad? Is there some emotion coming through? Are you curious? Is there a sensation coming up in the body? If you would like to move into the space. we take a moment to stop where we are. And you can turn around and find someone next to you. Find a pair. You can have two people there. And find someone and meet their eyes. We'll take about 20 seconds here together. And just really be present in that moment together. Let's take a breath together. What do you notice as you're here now? One more breath together. And acknowledge this moment that you shared with that person with a little nod, blink, a smile. Thank you. And we'll keep moving for another minute or so. We keep looking around, noticing the people around us, the space. Inhale together. Exhale. And maybe next time explore exhaling with a sound. Just maybe once, what that would feel like. We invite curiosity, playfulness. Yeah. And one more time, we'll turn around to someone. And one more time, we'll have a few seconds of connection with someone. Would you like to come in? And again, acknowledge the presence. Yeah. Just look at each other and acknowledge their presence. We don't need words. What's coming up for you now as you sit there? Do you feel the urge to talk? Do you feel the urge to look around? Do you feel the urge to say something? And all is welcome. We're not trying to do something, to feel something. We're noticing what is alive there. Inhale together. Exhale maybe with a sound. And again, give a moment of appreciation to that person and the moment you share together. We'll move around again. And for the last time, let's find a space where we're sitting right now. We close our eyes if that feels good. Wherever you are in the space. Close our eyes. Come again into our body. Feel the feet on the ground. Inhale together. Exhale maybe with a sound. Maybe there is a movement that wants to come out as you sigh out, a bit of shakiness. And let's just take one last moment to notice what is alive right now in my body or in my mind. Is anything different than before? How is my body feeling in that space? The heaviness, lightness. How is my posture? How is my breath? We're just noticing. One last breath together. And slowly, when you're ready, you can gently open the eyes and come back to the space and to everyone around us. Thank you. You can go back to our seats. It's okay. Before I start with a bit of introduction and the topic, is there anyone that would like to share just a word or two of what was alive, what was present, what did you notice? Again, we're just talking about the experience that we had. So if there's anything that wants to be shared, you're welcome to.
I have a bit of a weird question.
Yeah, that's welcome.
Because normally when we do this kind of exercise, this kind of meditation, we do it with this ballad music.
Mm-hmm.
And normally this music takes me to, let's say, sad reflection.
Yeah.
If it's a little bit more energetic, maybe the positive tension.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that it's done on a music which is a little bit more rhythmic, a little bit more,
Yeah.
or it's not recommended?
There are a lot of things I can say to that. I guess a lot of the practices, we'll talk about what somatic is. A lot of the practices, we actually do them without music. Because exactly as you said, the music influences us. Happy music puts us in an excited state, sad music, and some people even more sensitive to the change. So a lot of the practices we actually do will be without a music, so that we're really present with what is alive as opposed to influencing that externally. And even just actually the what you shared now, the fact that you're very aware of your internal state changing because of the music is also that connection with the self that you have. And that's what we also ultimately through those practices we want to develop, because we're not often that connected. And so there is the music that can influence our experience, but the music can also help that internal experience come out easier. So again, especially when it comes to the somatic and the body, there is no rules, there is no right or wrong answers. It's me here right now. What do I feel? What do I need? Yeah, thank you. Just to open to a share. If anyone wants to.
Thank you so much for asking us to look at each other's eyes. I did with two people, and it was something that I realized that I haven't done for months. Only my kids, maybe, but not for that long.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful. We can evolve so much.
Yeah.
It is so emotional. It's immediately
getting goosebumps.
Yes. I was really touched by that moment.
Yeah.
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 Face expression, it says a lot. It's like that person face goes through me, my whole life.
Yeah. And this is that aspect of, it's not just that I see you, but you know that I see you. So there, that concept in the somatic and the nervous system, I see you, see me. Yes. That genuine, I feel that you truly see me, is what we need to be seen. Like, I see you, see me. And when we have that little glimpse of that, it's just so touching. Yeah.
And I was seeing myself in the eyes of my silhouette. Seeing my silhouette in the eyes of Leda, and with her was more different. It was like I wasn't able. Like, what about you?
Yeah.
I cannot see you.
Yeah, of course. We're all different. We're in different states, moments. Yeah. Thank you for the share. Nice. Okay. I'll start with a quick introduction of, I guess, a bit about myself and how I got into the field of somatics. And then we'll go into a bit of theory, because everyone wants to know this day, like, what is this and why does it work and how does it work? because all those little simple things of just listen to your body, it's not enough for us to trust something so simple. We need the science behind it. So we'll look a bit of science, and we'll also do another practice afterwards. So that's what we'll have for the rest of the time together. Yes, the introduction about myself. I was always a very easily overwhelmed and easily upset person. Like situations like I would be in an institution or in a store and someone is rude to me, or if there is unfair managing of the situation, I would get emotional really easy. Like I might cry in that moment. Or at work, I was always a strong performer, but when I got even small feedback, like I could feel in that moment just the tears coming out in front, and with my manager, with senior people. So I really hated that, because first I was always the emotional person. I was always very sensitive, and my mom's sensitive, my sister is sensitive. We're just like that. This is who I am. And I hated it because, first of all, in those difficult situations where you have to stand up and to defend maybe yourself, you cry. Like, I can't react the way I want to react in this situation. And not only that, but then the other person can see me being emotional, and then that's even worse. So I really, really hated it. Yeah. And until I discovered somatic work, and I did a program for a year, so for a year practicing all of those practices. And what I found out was not that I was sensitive or I was emotional. I was living life from a state of trauma. I was living life as if everyone was out there to get me, and I had to always defend myself. I'm getting little sensations flowing through my body. And this is what, when we talk about the trauma response, the stress responses, the fight or flight, the freeze, this is what happens in our body, either when we are in a situation or when we live life as if we are in that trauma state. So constantly holding yourself, protecting yourself, expecting something to happen at any moment. So yeah, when I started studying the space, and not just studying, because somatics is all about practice and doing and being connected, not talking and theory. I slowly started to feel that what we talk about in this space is expanding our capacity to experience. So I'm still in those situations, but they don't influence me as much anymore. And actually this week I came to the studio earlier, met Maria. We're talking a bit about my story. And 2 years ago I had a burnout. I took 4 months off. I went back to work and I changed my job in a completely different, even more demanding role. And she asked me, how could then someone that experienced a burnout goes back to work and can go into even more demanding role? How can you even do that? It's like, yeah, I can do that because the capacity that I've developed, those experiences do not impact me as much. Sometimes I still get impacted, but much less. And I'm able also to notice that. That's the key when we develop that awareness with the body. The moment I'm in a difficult conversation with a senior person, because these are the things that still throw me off, as if that senior person, is like some sort of a threat. Yeah. I feel that anxiousness, but I'm like, oh, there you go. It's happening. That's okay. I'm safe. And then it goes back down and I can continue my conversation. So yeah, that's a bit my story. More the practical things. I work in tech. I've been in tech for 12 years, but I've also always been interested somehow into all these spaces. I was introduced to yoga 20 years ago, and yoga philosophy and practice has just been part of my life. I became a yoga teacher a few years ago, and I didn't want to teach. No, she's teaching now, starting to be a teacher. I didn't want to teach because I didn't feel that people were taking yoga seriously and that they could really benefit from the true impact of yoga. It just felt I can't reach these people through it. Then I became a coach. I do career coaching, and again, through the basic practices of coaching, again, I felt, there's just so much more beyond the thinking, and that's what we talk about. We can't think ourselves into being confident. We can't tell ourselves, oh, just relax, it's nothing. It's not through the thinking. And I realized that coaching through the mind cannot do that. And then I coincidentally came across the somatic teaching. I watched one course from my teacher, the one that you watched. And I was there sitting at home on Zoom, watching this woman talk about somatic. And she was just sitting there with this body presence, like complete true meaning of embodiment, that we can't even define what is embodiment, but you know it when you see it. And I was like, I want to be like her. You know, me, the person that's so easily shaken by external emotions, by external sensations, just to be in someone's presence that is so grounded. Take a moment. And that's also that when we talk about resonance, someone that the way they are inside is also how they're outside. Yeah. And I was like, I want to be like her. I want to learn to be like her. And I signed up, so that was a year-long program. So it's been almost 2 years now that I'm studying and learning into this space, and that's what we'll talk about today. So that was my little introduction. So, as I said, we all want the theory. So I have little leaflets here with a little theory that we'll go through so that you can also have a look at them easier, because it's easier when we can see that. I realized I rushed too fast into that. Maybe a moment of breath together. And I know it sounds maybe annoying when someone keeps telling you to breathe, but actually, we literally do not breathe. And don't take that moment to really, yeah.
It's so true.
And it's so simple. Okay,
You're so well prepared.
yeah, my
She's a Virgo.
Virgo and Gemini, so very much the Mercury mind organization, analytical, control, all those interesting things. There you go.
Also exploratory.
Yeah, curiosity. Nice. Okay. I have also my little cheat sheet because it's a massive, obviously it's a massive topic of trauma, nervous system. And I just want to touch on just a few things because we don't have the time, and yeah, it's a lot. One thing that I said earlier was that we can't talk ourselves into calming down, into developing confidence, into convincing ourselves that we're not scared, worried, because that's not how the brain works. So we have this first picture is a very simplified diagram of the brain. Obviously, it's much more complex, but the title there, your actions are not your own, because it's not our cognitive mind that controls what we do, what we think, and what we feel. The first part of the brain that developed evolutionary is this yellow reptile brain. So the most basic, primitive brain that's responsible for the instincts. So things like eating when we're hungry, when we're thirsty, sleep, going to the bathroom, all of those instinctive basic needs that we have is that part of the brain. And that is also the part that's responsible sort of for survival. Then evolutionary, the second part of the brain developed, which is what is written there, the limbic brain, also the mammal brain. And the mammal, because now that activates our social connection. Because the two things that the brain is wired for is survival, protection, safety, and connection. Again, as animals, mammals, we're all in connection. And that ensures the safety and our survival as well, and we'll see why. And the last part that developed much later in our evolution was the neocortex, the technical term, but is that analytical, thinking, rational brain. And one thing that I learned fascinating is when babies developed in the embryo and as they grow up as babies, that's also how the brain develops in them. So a baby is born only with the reptile brain, that basic. And over the next few months and years is the second brain that gets developed, the emotional, the connection brain. And actually, it only gets developed in connection with others. So when they talk about brain development, is the baby mimics and responds back to the surrounding and to the way that it's being sort of held, cared for, and present. So our brain develops as a reflection of how we're being cared for. And only afterwards, actually until the first 9 months, a baby doesn't even have a memory. So that last brain, it's not even developed for like at least 9 to 12 months. So the baby doesn't even misses the mother because it cannot remember the mother. It only knows the mother exists when the mother is in front of it, because that function of the remembering and the thinking is not even developed. So because of that, primitive brain is responsible for our survival, and it's constantly responsible to ensure that there is no threat. That's the part that sort of analyzes the environment and makes a decision. Is this a scary place? Is this a scary person? So it's that primal brain based on cues from people we meet, based on the environment. And when that brain decides, or no, the brain collects these signals and sends them to the second one and tells, okay, there is danger. And that is sort of like that fire alarm a bit. So you know how we have those smoke alarms in houses? And the alarm goes off if there is smoke. But the alarm doesn't know that if the smoke is you cooking or there is fire in the house. That's how our cognitive brain as well doesn't know. When an alarm goes in our brain that there is danger, it does not come from the cognitive brain. It comes later. So for example, you know how you're sometimes on a walk in the forest and you see something and you immediately think, shit, that's a snake. That's because you notice something and it's immediately send a signal to the second brain to say there's danger, and it makes you take action, step back, and only afterwards you're like, oh no, that's not a snake, that's a branch. So our cognitive brain is slower. And it's the reason it's slower is because we need to really act quickly, only then think, oh, was this a real threat or not? So that's why when we're scared and we respond to something, it might not be a real danger, but we don't know. And because of that, we can't tell ourselves, calm down. So that's the short story about the brain. The brain works in connection with the nervous system. And we have, I think there's 8 types of nervous system. And there's all these little yellow boxes there. So we have the central nervous system that runs from the brain along the spine. And then the peripheral, which is everything around the body and the organs. And what the nervous system does is it's like a connector sensing all the time and sending signals between the body, organs, the brain, and it's based on what we feel internally and also what's around us, the environment. So it constantly senses the environment and collects those signals to send them to the brain to then decide, is this a threat? What should we do if it's a threat? And the nervous system works together with obviously a lot of others, but one is the endocrine system, which is the hormones. So that's why when there is a threat, cortisol, adrenaline go up, different reactions happen in the body to prepare us for the threat. And again, all of that happens, the nervous system collecting signals internally and externally, communicating to the primal brain, preparing us for the threat. So me, in those conversations with people, I'm like, there is a threat. The important part as well is that the brain and the nervous system, they cannot distinguish if that's a real threat, if someone's really there to fight me, or it's a perceived threat that I think this is dangerous, or it's imaginative threat that I expect this to become dangerous. This is not distinguished within the system. So yeah, going back briefly to the nervous system. So we have the peripheral, that's around the whole body. And then there are three that are within that, within the peripheral. There's the autonomic, the somatic, which is the internal sensations that we feel. And then there is the visceral, so touch, right? When we touch, we feel, again, sense sensations and signals to the brain. And now the autonomic. It's called autonomic because it's autonomous. Again, there is no cognitive input from us when the nervous system detects and recognizes. It's just happening constantly in our body. We're wired to constantly seek and make sure that we're safe. And there are three parts within the autonomic. These are maybe the two that we have heard. So there is the sympathetic, parasympathetic, and enteric. Enteric is the gut. There are the same amount of neurons in the gut as there is in the brain of a cat. Hence, when we talk about the second brain. So it's a separate nervous system that collects signals from here. And lastly, the brain and the body are connected to the nervous system, and it's like this motorway with signals constantly. And the interesting aspect is that only 20% of that communication starts from the brain, and 80% is from the body. So the nervous system is collecting all the signals around and inside us and sending them to the brain constantly. So that's the body, and everything's happening in the body. It is communicating. We experience things through the body. Interesting fact about the kids as well. Maybe just before that. Because the nervous system is wired for that safety and connection. It's constantly working. And we're constantly alert for a threat and then coming back to regulation. That's the normal cycle. Interestingly, in children, the ability to regulate the nervous system doesn't develop until the age of maybe 5 or 7. So if you're having a child having a tantrum, like crying, and I don't have children, I know there are a few ladies here with younger as well and older, but we can't tell a child or leave, like some of the methods to teach and to educate children is just leave them to cry it out, leave them to calm down. Physiologically, their body cannot relax. They cannot calm them down. They don't have the ability in their body developed to calm down. So what they do is they'll keep crying. When they stop, it's not because they're calm. It's because the body is so exhausted. So they need to preserve their energy and they stop crying. It's not because they have calmed down. So in order to calm them down, they need, and that's the way that the nervous system works is in connection. They need somebody else's presence, somebody else's regulated nervous system. So it works like this. It just reads from each other. So for children, they can't do that. You need presence of someone, and not just the presence of someone, but the regulated, calm presence. Because if on the inside, we're like anxious and annoyed, but we try to calm, it's not what they perceive. It's tuning in to what's alive. And that's it's intended to work like that. And then what we can do also as grown-ups works as well for grown-ups. We sometimes, if we're so dysregulated, so out of capacity, is to be in the presence of someone that can help us. We can breathe together. Just being in the presence is that physiological connection. And one last bit, because before I pause here, that's why, when we talk about intuition, a lot of that is this. Because again, it's signals that we work all the time to scan and to make a decision. Is this space safe? Is this person safe? So sometimes we're in the presence of someone and they're nice, they smile and they're friendly. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, there is something, I don't feel this person. And we try to explain it, but we can't, because it's maybe that person, they're trying to be nice, but maybe they have different reasons to be nice with us. Or maybe they're themselves a bit off and dysregulated and they're not really present. So that's why we can't feel it. And we feel, oh, there's something off, but I don't know what it is. And we try to explain it. So it's that sort of like, I know there is something. And that's the sort of a bit the intuition. And that's what I felt when I watched this teacher. I could connect and resonate with her presence, like through embodied presence. So that's how the brain and the nervous system work in a very simplified way. Want to pause here just to maybe let that sink a bit. Can take a breath and just see anything that catches your attention, maybe anything that you're like, oh yeah, I actually remember experiencing this, or yeah, what's coming up for you as you hear all of this? Yeah.
Because you were saying, like, when your nervous systems, one or both of them, are kind of aroused,
Exactly.
and on the other side, you don't have a person on the electric person calming you down. What's the next thing?
Yeah.
Aggression, I guess.
Yeah.
What is the next thing that you feel? Like, because you said you either calm yourself down or you try to force that person. Because, okay, if it is a one-off, like you meet this person, you're angry for some reason, and that's not the right person who can calm you down. Next time, you can decide not to meet this person. If it's someone who's around,
Yeah. Yeah, I love your questions. Just trying to think of what's the right way and to talk about now. So the way that we generally calm ourselves down, because we'll see why it's not the right word to use, is through developing that first awareness to notice. So maybe just before I go into your question, introduce a bit what is somatics. So somatics comes from the Greek word soma, and means the body. And I don't remember when exactly that was coined, this term, sort of like maybe 30, 40 years ago, but in a way it came as a need to differentiate between the word body, which comes also from the Latin word corpus, and it's more sort of that anatomical, functional part of way of seeing the body. While soma is that feeling the body from within, experiencing the body, feeling the body from within. Maybe just let that, experiencing the body, sensing the body. Right when earlier we did this practice, after the movement, I invited you, what is alive? What do you feel? Sensation, feeling, emotion. That's like the somatics of being in touch. However, because we're so, on one hand, caught up here, we're so constantly busy doing that, we're so disconnected with the body. Also sort of that, the last, I think, 2-3 centuries, mind over matter, like the mind is more superior, the mind always over the body. We force ourselves, push ourselves, and we feel proud that we've pushed over the limit of our body. So the feeling is, on one hand, the somatic work is about being able to feel and to develop the capacity to hear, to feel, to tune in, because that disconnection, like again, before when I would get triggered, the only moment I would realize this is happening is when I'm already crying. Versus now, it's a process, right? The subconsciously detects a danger, then it sends signals to start mobilizing the body. So heart rate goes up, palms sweat, anxiety in the stomach. So now actually I can feel those things, or everything that's the process. I feel it from the beginning, and I'm like, oh, it's happening because of the development. So what you're asking is, on one hand, what we can do in that situation is practice those practices over time, because that works like a physical workout, right? Like you wouldn't want to go and lift something heavy right now. Maybe you do 5 minutes push-ups and then go lift something heavy. you train over time to develop. The same with the nervous system practices. Over time, we develop that strength. So when we're in that moment, we have expanded our capacity. But also, if we in that moment, we can take some of those practices and apply them in the moment. Even just, we'll do the next practice in a bit, but even just, oh, I feel anxiety here, and tuning into that within a minute, by tuning in and naming it, you will notice it starts dissipating, because those signals from the body, they are signals, they call for your attention, right? There is something, you need to take action. So the moment we hear them, like the times when I've been on a difficult conversation or call and I hear the anxiety, and I literally tell myself, it's okay, we're safe. Like quietly I tell myself, it's fine, we're safe, don't worry, I notice you, I hear you, I see you. Yeah, it immediately dissipates. So that's how we can, one of the ways. So it's a lot. It's over time practicing some of that, or sometimes in the moment apply some of those practices. And you know, the more you do that, the more you can, that's the second part of your question, the more you can tell truly, is it me that I'm still easily overwhelmed, or is this person in this situation not good for me?
Can I add something here? It's interesting what she's asking. I used to be an actress. In the theater, I had to play one role for 5 years of a mother. Back then I didn't have kids yet. And the play was written by a Catalonian guy.
Wow.
And I had to play that my child was stolen from the playground. And then they show me this child in a screen on screen, and then the screen goes black, and then we receive a call that there is a bomb and that the child is killed. And I had to play this role for 5 years, like 5 times per month.
Wow.
I had to be in this situation. And I was an actress, and I had to experience this for real, because if you're an actor, you don't lie. And I started to observe different women, how they react when they are in anxiety moments and what they do. Because I try to imitate it from outside. This is the American way to make acting, by imitating from the body, and then it goes to your emotions. And the Russian way to go to the emotions, and then it goes out for the body. So I did it the American way this time. And I saw that all of the mothers on the playground, once something happens with their kids, or they cannot see where they are right now, their shoulders immediately goes up, they go up, they start breathing shell breathing, like their eyes are going big, their mouth, they become like animals. If you make a video, short video, and then you make it slow, you can see the slow process of anxiety, and it's always here, up here. It's never, you're disconnected with your, because you feel blocked. You cannot move your hands, and now when she's asking, I guess it's the opposite that we have to do. Like we have to reconnect with our whole body in order not to be there, right?
Yeah. And you know, it's a super good point. It goes a bit on the second page. You have another diagram, but it's exactly that's exactly as you said. Thank you so much for so beautifully like sharing and all that process that you've gone through. But it's our instinct. It's an animal instinct to fight or flight, right? There is in the animal world. That's what it was sort of evolutionary developed. There is a threat. Again, real threat, you notice that. What happens as social creatures as well, first is the first threshold is there someone around me that can help me? First, that's the first thing that we do. And maybe you notice as well, kids, there's a beautiful example in one of the books that I read, again, because I don't have kids, I need to rely on those stories, but the author was saying, she was watching a movie with her child, like maybe 4-year-old child. Normal movie, but of course, for children, different things are scary. So something came up scary for the child, and what it did immediately, look towards the mother for assurance, instinctively, and then sees from the mother, no, we're safe, we're fine. That doesn't even happen on a cognitive conversation, right? A child turns to you, you're like, oh, here. And it's like, okay, that's the first level of response to threat, looking for social connection. Next level, if there is no social connection, is that fight or flight. Can I fight with that predator? If I can't fight, if it's maybe too big, then I'll flight, I'll run, because it's like, I need to be safe, right? And as you said, the reason all those things are happening in the body is when we're in that state, all the systems that are not responsible to help us in that moment shut down. The thinking, creativity, relaxation, sexuality, pleasure, joy, they shut down because the body is preparing to fight and it needs the most important resources. All right, there is a threat. The animal chooses to fight or flight. Some animals, like deers or rabbits, I think, they can't either fight or flight. Yeah. They pretend they're dead. That's the freeze response. Like, you die and wait for the threat to disappear. So different people would respond in one of those different ways when they are in a situation of danger. But what the body is made to do is it mobilizes us through the sympathetic nervous system, right? It mobilizes us, goes up, adrenaline, everything. And then when the danger is over, we go back, right? Because when we fight or we flight or we flee, everything then comes through the body. Like that adrenaline that we've mobilized to fight, through the running, through the fighting, it's released from the body. So, right, we go up. The graph in green that we have on the backside, the green one, we go up. When we face and overcome the situation, it goes down. So all the mobilization that we took, now I'm safe, I can rest. And when we go into the parasympathetic state, it's very important. That's the state where we now rest and recover. So it's when the body regenerates energy for next time. What happens in our life is we perceive just interactions with people as danger, or because we live in that state of constantly exposed to danger, we get stuck in that fight or flight. So that's what I meant when I was saying in the introduction that I have been living my life from constant state of fight or flight, right? I'm ready, because maybe growing up, maybe certain experiences have taught me that life is not safe and I always need to be alert. Someone is there, I need to be. So we are mobilizing our energy and we're always staying up here. And remember I said when we're up here, everything else shuts down. So that's also what happens in schools. Like system in Bulgaria is very much, I think in other countries, but right, you're like, have to listen to the teacher and they always scare you and they bring you out on the blackboard to terrify you. So you're in that constant state of, they're going to take me out on the blackboard, they're going to ask me a question, so you're alert. So creativity shuts down. Free thinking, play, connection, it cuts off. And because the relaxation and recovery is in that low state. So the practices as well of somatics are, how can I get out of that state? How can I allow to move freely to those states? And also how can I expand my space that the threat doesn't trigger me.
What do you mean by expand the window of tolerance?
Exactly. So window of tolerance is, say, my nervous system was so triggered that someone might say something negative or a bit harsh to me, and I'm immediately overwhelmed. But if I practice what I've been doing, and my window of tolerance, my capacity to face those situations is bigger now. So you can say the exact same thing to me, doesn't trigger me anymore. Or exactly exactly. That's why we don't talk about calming ourselves down. We talk about enhancing our capacity that I can hold more, because when we hold more of difficult things, we also hold more of beautiful things. We can't hold joy and love and pleasure and creativity if we're shut down also to, to danger and fear. Because that's, as you said, right? Shoulders go up because we constantly brace ourselves. So I can't receive beautiful things either if I if I'm in that state as well, if my capacity is just so small. Yeah.
I have a question about the intuition.
The intuition, yeah.
You mentioned where exactly the intuition is coming from the brain or from the heart? Because I was watching a video where it says the mother heard here first the heart. The heart.
Mm-hmm.
Brain doesn't exist here. So the end of the video was listen to your heart, not to your brain. Your brain was too heavy.
Yeah. Obviously.
What is the heart role of the whole brain, nervous system, the whole that situation?
And I'm not, an expert on intuition. I think that what I've studied from the somatic and the nervous system, and I think there is a bit of also misinterpretation when we say the brain is stupid. I think what oftentimes is meant is that analytical cognitive part of the brain is disconnected, because the brain is also the other three parts, right? That we said, the instinctive and the emotional. So I think it's the brain and the nervous system that are constantly in connection, and in the signals. So the nervous system captures the signals and sends them to the brain, these two parts of the brain, the more primitive ones, which then respond or make us respond. So I feel like it's not per se the brain, it's rather the mind, the cognitive mind, no? That's rational. So then if we remove the rational, then we're left with the other brain, parts of the brain, and the nervous system. And it's that communication. The nervous system is capturing the signals. So it's that, if I'm in the presence of someone, and if I'm really tuned into myself, I'll be more likely to notice there's something off with that person, without being able to explain why. So that's how I understand intuition in the context of nervous system. Please. Yes, I was gonna, please. Sorry, just a quick introduction. That's one of my dearest friend, Fiona, who we started our somatic year-long program together. So she's also, expert in this space.
What I would say regarding intuition is, especially for women, we have been cut off from our bodies. And intuition is our whole body. It's not just the heart, it's not just the gut, it's this whole body feeling. There's things that we know that we can't explain. It's just like, I don't know why I feel this. Like, no logical words and explanation can express why you feel this way. It's this deep knowing within us, this intuition, right? But we have been so cut off from that knowing from our body because of the conditionings in society. So through somatics, through different somatic practices that maybe we learn today, and maybe give some other practices for you, we start to reconnect with our body, and then we'll start to trust that intuition without having to explain it logically. But most often we're like, oh no, I can't feel that. That's stupid to feel that. Why should that person's a good person. Why is that person bad? You know, that's just all that decision to make or something. It's like, no words can express why you feel that. That's your intuition, right? And as women, we are so cut off from it. Just from the life that we live, the things that we have to do. And so somatics is bringing me back into that trust.
That makes sense.
Yeah?
Because it's everywhere, the songs and the conversation. Listen to your heart, what your heart says, your heart.
We're cut off from it, and we always are questioning, and maybe someone pushed your feelings or your emotion aside, and you're like, okay, I can't feel that way. And so you cut that, and you cut it, and you cut it. Since a child, you've maybe been told, just go to that person, say hello. Doesn't matter if they're making you bad, you have to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And so we learn to distrust our own emotions and our own intuition. And this is bringing us back to it.
Thank you.
In relationships, isn't it? Sometimes it's like, you have this feeling, and then the partner feels like, oh, you're being silly, you're being stupid, and then a few days, months, years down the line,
Exactly.
Yeah,
No.
there are some scientific words that connects this feeling that we have for intuition, because the nervous system is connected to the heart, to all the brain is connected to the heart, to all the organs, through the vagus nerve, and through that connects also with the sympathetic and parasympathetic. So knowing ourselves, being very self-aware of what happens, brings us to know our baseline, and from which we can go back and forth towards a more active, reactive, resilient ways of being. So playing around in these kind of spaces with getting to know each other in a safe way, getting to know ourselves, reacting different context is the best way. And the scientific part is like just the vagus nerve and the nervous system is spread, connecting the entire organ of the body. It's not only the heart, but also the gut. We always call the gut feeling the intuition that's reflected in the body. So there are all these connections that in Oriental culture, their cultures in India and in the yogic practice, they connect with the chakras, but the chakras that are placed in all the places of the body where we feel things, like root chakra is the pelvic area, then we have the manipura with the stomach, then we have the anahata with the heart and the throat, and then the ananya is the superior ones. So now we're explaining in the Western world through somatic and the nervous system understanding scientifically what cultures in the Orient were knowing instinctively. So this is not a proof that the intuition is there. And to connect with the conditioning that we are born in a world designed by men, for men, and are very, very transactional and practical and rational. So we are forced into that without even realizing. So with these practices, it's really, really beautiful to get back to ourselves.
What the tornado starts from the gut.
Gut, stomach, heart, all of them are connected.
I have a practical question. So we speak a lot about nutrition, and I started to realize that I have to trust more in nutrition. When I'm in a context of professional environment, and we all know that there is one person in the room that bothers you somehow. You can't explain at least and something bothers you, but you still need to keep the professional level and you still need to collaborate and work with this person. That might be also outside of the professional world, like in the family environment, or friendship, community, and so on. So what are the kind of general kind of practices that you could still like go within your intuition, be aware of the situation and that there is something wrong between you and this person, but surpass it and still be like in peace with yourself and stay in balance without getting shaken by those little triggers that come from this person?
Yeah, I think there are a few things there. And the most important one, again, I think it's really, it seems obvious to say it, but just the fact that you become aware that there is something's bothering you there, that's already a connection with the self. Because oftentimes, like we get annoyed, we react, we move on, we don't acknowledge and pause and see what is happening right now. Like, oh, I'm being triggered by this person, right? Like even just the fact that we can acknowledge that. And then it's a few things. In that moment, what do I feel? And I want to do the last practice. What do I feel? Where do I feel that? But also, what else might be happening? Because there is like that experience and maybe the intuition, but there is oftentimes also a bit of maybe projection. There is something in that person that particularly triggers me, particularly throws me off, particularly puts me in that state of, oh, there is something off there. So it's always that inquiry into yourself first, and inquiry into the situation. What about that person is really putting me off? Is it the way they behave, they talk over somebody? Is it just because they're like too full of themselves? Could be so many things, but really becoming clear of what that might be. And then the practices. In the somatic space, we use practices like touch, sound, movement, touch, sound, movement, breath. Yeah, thank you. And I just want to mention what we did earlier and why we did that, and then we'll do the last practice, and then we can just go into complete conversation. What we did was shaking. Super powerful practice, because some of you maybe have dogs. What do dogs do? Animals shake, especially right when we're in the fight or flight. Again, we mobilize the body, adrenaline, cortisol go up. We need to release that. And if we can't release it in the situation, we have to support that to come out of the body. So shaking is so good when we are in that activated state to really bring us to literally physically is releasing the hormones from the body. But also it's good when we're in a down state, right? When we're a bit cut off, dissociated, sort of that, not depression, but really low. Again, shaking brings you up, activates the body, brings it back alive. So shaking, it has like physiological purpose. The other thing we did was the orientation. So remember that the sense of safety does not come from me telling me, oh, I'm, on the way here from yesterday, I was already a bit nervous for this. And I caught myself this morning, I was journaling, and I caught myself telling, oh, it's okay, you know your stuff, and these are all friendly people. And I'm like, wait a minute. You're trying to tell yourself, to convince yourself. It's the mind. I'm trying to convince myself that it's okay from the mind. But I can't do that if I'm feeling scared or nervous. What orientation does is that literally you are telling your brain and your nervous system that this is safe. Right? Another example with animals, cats. When they enter a space, what do? They scan the space. So even something as simple as a minute, when you feel yourself triggered, a bit this off, scanning like super slowly, it tells your system that I'm safe, I'm here, there's no danger. So that's what we did. So the shaking, the orientation, the breath, and the sound, right? Like Catherine, you talk about the practices from the Oriental practices, right? Mantras, chanting, sounds, the voice.
Because activating the voice goes to the throat.
Yeah, it's the sound. It activates the parasympathetic to the vagus nerve to calm down.
Not breathe out voice, the humming. It's so
the humming sounds. We'll do now a practice now. Yeah, even just exhalation. I was saying earlier, right? How many times when you're annoyed you'll be like, right? It's our body knows that. So doing more of that. It's just, so those are some of those practices. And to your question earlier, we can do them throughout the day intentionally, or when we are caught in that situation. So sometimes if I need to go, I keep giving examples of my work. I guess my work is stressful, but before I go into a meeting, sometimes I stand up and I shake for 5 minutes before I go into a meeting, because I can feel that I'm getting anxious. So I'm like, okay, let's release it. And then I start, and I'm a bit more in control and more grounded. So those are some of the super simple.
Working communications, and for the past 8 years, I've been moderating a lot of internal events. Normally, our audience is 400 to 700 people. So before you open an event, you're always super stressed, no matter how often you do it. But sometimes I have people next to me, like speakers, and they're super overwhelmed with them. Even though they're experts in their field, I've had situations where they were sweating, and what I always do is like ground yourself, do this.
Exactly, shaking.
It helps.
Yeah, shaking, exactly. And you know something else, if you're nervous as a speaker, invite everyone to take a breath together, because you're doing it for you. But right, also, again, remember the nervous system is collective. So if the group is a bit off, people are talking or they're a bit agitated, it might impact me as well as a speaker. So it's tuning in as a collective, as a group is also important. Okay.
We have those mirror neurons.
Exactly.
And that's why we imitate.
Yeah.
We borrow sometimes the feelings of others.
Yeah.
Yawning is a good example for that.
Yeah.
It's contagious when you're yawning. It's like the other person responds, and it's not always. Oh, it's like
And even now, as I say that, I realize, oh, we've been talking for a while, right? Energetically, we're a bit now. Oh, maybe we're tired, and that could be a good moment to invite everyone to shake for a minute, because right when we go down, we get tired a bit. We're not paying attention. We can't take, again, talking about tolerance and capacity, we can't take anymore. So inviting everyone, shake for a minute. Okay, now we can continue. So it also, we have more capacity as presenters to actually be present and do that. Maybe just to check in, Rally, as well with you. Do we just want to open for conversation? Do we want to do another practice? A 10-minute practice to open?
Like after we finish, and then we can meet.
Yeah. Should I do another 10-minute practice and then we open? Yeah, okay, let's do that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, cool, thank you. Let's do then, as I said, we'll do like just a minute of shaking, moving, and then we'll move into the second practice, last practice. But yeah, maybe notice, as I was saying, are we a bit tired, sluggish? Did you have too much offered information? What is happening in the body right now, right? That's in every moment we can invite ourselves to check in with ourselves. So we'll do just a bit of movement and one last practice of 10 minutes. Maybe the sound again. So yes, takes more space. Good, exactly. Take the space, allow. My favorite is the sound. It feels so good to be like, ah. Like, if you want an invitation to make a weird loud sound, you're welcome. Exactly. Yeah. Maybe stretch, whatever feels good. And we want to always with this is we want to explore what we feel right now, not to force. You know, if I tell you shake, if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. What does your body want to do? Maybe stretch, yawn. Nice. Let's slowly come back to our seats for our last practice. Ciao, ciao. Okay. Take our seats, and before we start, something else within the somatic space is what we call resourcing. So is there anything that you can do that you can be more comfortable right now? You know, you noticed in the morning when we started, I was supposed to have this high chair, and I knew if I sat there, I would be like, had to be standing like that all the time. So I would be thinking, am I comfortable? I get tired. So I made sure that I have something more comfortable. So is there anything that you can do, like maybe you can change your space where you are sitting, can put a pillow, or don't know, open your legs, anything that makes you feel more comfortable right now, and an invitation to do that. Yeah, right, like again, it's an invitation to allowing the body to express what it needs right now, as opposed to us telling it what you need, right? Sit here stiff for 2 hours. No, what will feel good for me in this moment? Because we do like maybe just under 10 minutes. So, right, what will be comfortable for me? We'll do again just a bit of scanning. So slowly start looking around. Maybe you notice your breath starts to slow down as you start looking around. When I do that, I usually feel like a sigh coming out. Slowly, just notice, acknowledge the space. If you can look behind you. Something else we do with this practice is really to slow down. So we never do that. If you've looked around, you can also look down and acknowledge your body. This is my body. Just, you can say it to yourself in your language. You can just touch your body. Like, I'm here and this is my body. Then you can slowly close your eyes if that feels good. Take a breath together. You can keep your eyes closed if that feels good again. As I explain what we'll do next, we'll do a breathing type. So it's a normal inhale. And as we exhale as if we're blowing out a candle. So we inhale normally and exhale as if you blow. We keep the exhalation long. And we repeat that together maybe 4 or 5 times. So inhale. Exhale as if you're blowing out a candle, or you can also think of it as blowing through a straw. And do that in your own rhythm for a few times, just whenever the rhythm feels good. Three more times. Maybe a few more times. When you feel ready, you can come back to the normal breath. Keep your eyes closed if you had them closed. And just notice what might have changed in your body as you were doing that. Notice maybe there's softening, maybe in the shoulders or somewhere else. Or maybe not. Again, we don't want to force anything. If nothing happens, that's also fine. We want to be with what's present right now. We'll do one last breath. So again, stay where you are with your either eyes closed or open, but within your own space. And we'll do another breath, which is when we breathe in normally, we exhale with the sound of woo. So it's a breath that comes a bit from the top of the chest, and it sounds like this, woo. And don't worry, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. And we'll do that together. We'll inhale together. Woo. We'll do that for a few more times together. Inhale. Few more times. Three more times together. And last one. Just allow to receive that. Stay in the experience. It's a little invitation to notice what's alive in the body or the mind. Is there some sort of maybe relaxation that you notice? If it feels good, stay in your space as well with your eyes closed and just try to scan the body for sensation. Is there tightness? Are you annoyed? Impatient? Is your mind busy? Anything is welcome. We're just noticing. And if you notice a specific sensation, whatever that's, if it feels good or if it's maybe tightness, heaviness, just acknowledge where do you feel that in the body, and maybe you can put a hand there wherever that feels and stay with that sensation for a bit and see if you can name the feeling. Is it tight? Is it light? Is it heavy? Maybe it's so subtle that you know there's something but you don't feel that. That's okay. And if there was a sensation, what if you ask that sensation, what do you need right now? What can I do for you? What's the message you have for me? What is the ask? Maybe you can thank that part. Maybe there was a message, a connection. Maybe there wasn't. Maybe you can give yourself a hug or touch your body and just give gratitude to being with your body today, and maybe connecting, even just if it's a little more than before, connection. We can take a breath together. And when it feels good, you can slowly orient back. If you need a moment to stay with your eyes closed, you can do that. We always just try to tune into what would feel good and what we need. You can slowly come back to the space. You can look around everyone here that we share the moment together today. Thank you for your presence today, for your engagement, for your curiosity, for your openness, and also for your presence in this moment and supporting this community, but also myself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hristina. Thank you to all of you for being part of the experience. I believe that there is also, your system is fine. I also have a medical background, but there is something beyond also, and that's that energy. I don't know, in Chinese medicine they say chi, source, God, whatever, but I believe that any of you shared also something with us, all of us. So thank you for being here. Thank you for investing your time and energy for yourself also today. I hope you enjoy it. I did, really. And thanks again to Hristina for the incredible workshop. I feel so recharged. And also there are practices that I definitely will integrate in my all-day life, because I believe all of us need it. And thank you to our hosts again, Maria and Nuria.
Beautiful space.
They are opening the studio officially in September, right? And I mean, it's a free event, and it's great that everybody's here. If you want to support them somehow, is there some kind of box or so where we can give our thank you to you? That will be great. And for the young artists, and thanks again.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And if are there some more questions or so? And I loved also the part that everybody shared. Like experience or techniques or so on. So if you want to share some else, feel free to do it. And of course, the pictures after that. How it was for you?
One good thing I noticed during this hour and a half, I did not watch my time. And I was timeless. I didn't care about time or anything. It was so much in the present. So much.
That's also the state where we want to be, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of those practices is to keep us more and longer in those states of calm, because like as you said, in that state of calmness, presence is when we can be more of us and creative and effective and in connection. Anything you want to share maybe with the practices? I know, and that's why I was saying all the time, you're not supposed to feel anything. We don't do this to feel good, because sometimes you do this and there is annoying thing comes out and you're so impatient or annoyed, or there could be anything, and we want to allow anything to come out, not to make ourselves feel good. Exactly. So is there any interesting sensation maybe that's or thoughts were coming as you were doing this? Just out of curiosities, if you want to share.
Is it possible, like, to start our day, like, moving, also take maybe 5 minutes to check our body before to start our day? Like, to get a coffee or to get ready for work or workout, whatever.
Like, I do those practices. I try to do at least once a day something. There are some days when I don't do. And I also do something before, as I was saying, if I know I'm going to have a difficult conversation, or if I notice myself a bit getting impatient, I do some of this. So again, the more we do that, the more we develop that capacity. And the more we learn ourselves, again, right, talking about choices and knowing, the more we learn here, what do I need right now? And again, we're so go, do. We had this fun conversation in our training last year. How many times you would go through meetings and tasks and you need to go to pee and you won't do it for hours? Like, right? Especially, I don't know if it's a women thing as well, but like, no, it's okay, right? So even those physiological, the more we become attuned to our physiological needs, we start hearing more the body when we're hungry, right? Burnout, it gets to that because we constantly suppress, ignore, we're not attuned to the need. So tuning in, what do I need right now? Just once a day you pause, what do I need right now? To feel good, to feel relaxed. Yeah.
That's good.
And that's
I feel relaxed. I want to see
right. And that's how we feel. You mentioned you have like a medical background. That's how we feel when we go to chiropractor, right? To Reiki, massage, because they activate the sympathetic nervous system of the relaxation. So they all work the same way. And the goal is to be more in that relaxed state, or at least to go back to more relaxed state as easy as possible. Yeah.
Which brain I have a like side question, just like curiosity. I read something about sex and love. Which brain is responsible for that?
Which brain? I don't know. But the more we relaxed we are,
Sex and love.
maybe the primal, I think they're both, because the primal is the instincts, but then the second one is the connection.
Emotions are
All
what
the
limbic system.
Exactly.
Decision making, reptilian, all.
And the most important thing is connection, right? To be connected when we are in that moment, what feels good, to know what doesn't feel good, to know what feels good, and to feel safe to ask for more.
What do you feel about that, or what do you think about that EFT, like emotional?
Yeah. I haven't studied it, but I do it as well myself, and I notice how I feel relaxed and grounded.
How do you do it? Like there is like something bothering you, or like I'm peaceful and calm, or you recognize the feeling of I'm stressed. I'm by this one.
You know, I did it now. I was coming out of the metro today, and I felt still there was anxiety in my chest, and I just instinctively did that. I've never studied the EFT.
So not the whole process, like here.
I haven't studied it. I just do it intuitively.
Okay.
I feel I'm a bit too much here, and I just start tapping, or here. Again, intuitively. I know it's a proper like study, and there are ways to do it.
Yeah, but I think I've been studying this.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like when I have tension.
Exactly.
But
Because again, the body knows.
I'm like whatever.
Exactly. Or another thing I do when I'm like a bit down, tapping, because just this slapping, it activates the body. It brings you here now. Yeah, I'm alive. I'm here. I'm safe. I'm energetic. So I literally just do that. Again, our body knows.
Yeah.
It has an urge to do something based on what it needs right now. If I'm a bit too low energetically, the body needs, I need a bit more excitement, because the parasympathetic, that's the activation, it's also fear, but it's also excitement, mobilization. So it needs, So yeah.
But it was a good reminder to be connected to our body. Because sometimes, like you said, sometimes you go through the day, the week, the months, and you don't even feel our body.
And that's how we override our needs all the time. I'm so guilty of that. Yeah.
Sometimes one thing you need to put too much attention. You need to find this 30 minutes. 5 minutes can work.
Yeah.
It can work. You
Exactly.
don't need special preparation or mentality or music. You just need to do it. And connect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's also important to like check these moments immediately and not let them to overcome because it's easier to get out of that state. You know, if you recognize, okay, there's something happening, I'm nervous because whatever, and then just go back to the breath, and tap, and just look around and be more present. Because when we are there, like really deep in that confusion, it's a little bit difficult. The mind don't allow us so easily.
Exactly.
Easily to get out of
Even at all, exactly. The mind does not want us to feel that way. The mind doesn't want us. Yeah, exactly. So we suppress, and if we do that every day, all the time, it's an emotion that needs to come out. But if we constantly don't allow, even not acknowledge it, that's what keeps us in that state of, when we talk about trauma and stress, like your body is activated, right? As they say, the body keeps the score, beautiful book. It's literally, that experience is in the body. If you don't release it, it just keep pushing, suppressing, adding, right? Versus.
Yeah, because we have mostly those two reactions when something is triggering. This, let's say a person said something or so on. The one is like to suppress it, you know, and to be annoyed and to just get that anger or emotions like down. And that's not the solution because it stays there. Or the other way, how our mind, we go to discuss, hey, you don't say like this, and then we trigger his defensive system, and then we go to arguing and stuff. And it would be, the world would be more beautiful if we just in that moment, every one of us could be like, when you say, okay, what is happening? You know, get to
We need justice so badly. We can't.
And exactly the suppressing, Gabor Mate, probably some of you know, it's exactly that. Years of suppressing emotions, a beautiful book of his as well. The Body Says No, of connection of people that connecting of their personality, like they did a research and test women that went to get a scan for breast cancer. So they haven't done the scan yet. They don't know if they have cancer or not. The doctors don't know. What they gave them is a personality test, like how do you communicate with others? How are you in your life? Based on that, they were able to predict afterwards when they did the test, like to 70% accuracy, only based on the personality test, who would have cancer. Because of, like these are usually people that suppress their emotions, right? The nice people that play along, make sure everyone's happy, don't talk about their needs, don't express their needs. And when you do that for years, it's the body, and develops all of those conditions over years of years. Exactly. So that connection between suppressing our needs and emotions and the physical pain, conditions, illnesses, it's a fact. It's not like woo or whatever.
I heard about that from who analyze not only body language, but like people who nearly birth or people who struggle with expressing themselves. They start having a lot of problems with their throat.
Throat.
So there's like a lot of connections.
Yeah. And you know, actually, it's the throat, but also autoimmune diseases. People with autoimmune diseases, about 80% of people with diseases are women. Because what is the autoimmune disease? Boundaries. Like women, we've been taught, do what others want. Make sure others are happy. You know, your needs are not important. When someone approaches you, right, you're not allowed to have a boundary. You're not allowed to defend yourself. So when you can't defend yourself, when you can't set that boundary, what do? The third system attacks you back. So autoimmune disease is that attack.
Yeah, you choose the fight or flight consciously.
Yeah.
When you don't have boundaries, two options, fight or flight.
Yeah.
I want to add something that for me sometimes it works. But when I encounter like a situation where I cannot escape having a good conversation with somebody who understands that I have a conflict and probably will never be resolved. Mostly in my work environment. What I learned for myself is that I try to ask questions. So I'm mostly like putting the ball into their hands. And I'm trying to, like, of course, first I'm trying to be sympathetic and understand the motives or why this person reacted that way or what was the reason. Sometimes it works because the other person also relaxes in the situation because they could see that you want to understand them. In other situations, there is a continuation of the trigger. But for me, sometimes like going to a meeting or starting a conversation with a question that allows the other person to talk. Helps me. Because it's very easy to jump in. You start talking or you start expressing your exactly. But actually, like if you allow them to start talking, you can respond in a bit maybe more calmly.
And I think that's what you're doing outside. But I think what's happening on the nervous system level is you are not going in charged first, right? You're going, okay, I'm open. And that's what that person actually, more than anything else, that's what their nervous system feels. Because again, our nervous systems, it's a field. I mean, it's not, again, it's not woo-woo thing. It's a constant, we scan and connect for understanding if there's safe or dangerous, the space around us. So if you are going into fight, their nervous system is like, oh shit, it's like it also gets ready to fight. But if you go in, apart from the fact that you go with a question, you go like, okay, let's see what's happening. They don't feel that need to respond and attack. Yeah, which is, yeah, so good. I want to hold people like if okay, stand up and whatever feels good and yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're so sweet.
You're welcome. It was great.